Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another Walking Dead discussion. Now, I am once again joined by Dimzy from Dimzy's Domain. Dimzy, why don't you say hello?
I can't. I'm half dead essentially. But
It's super late for him actually right now. It's about 6 p.m. at least when we're filming this now or
1 a.m.
recording
here.
this, and it's 1 a.m. there. So damn. So yeah, I'm sorry about that, but it's whatever. He's nice to. Anyway, you're nice to join me. Guys, today we're going to be talking about something that kind of dropped at least, depending on when this goes on, last week or this week or whatever, about Scott Gimple, the current showrunner for The Walking Dead, actually talking about whether there's a movie in the future of the Walking Dead series. And he was kind of pointing out and laughing that if it was going to be a movie in the series, it wasn't necessarily going to deal with the facts and what's going on in this particular show or with these particular actors or storylines or anything. And honestly, if you ask me, it's really kind of hard to see that actually putting out. To me, if they were to do it, it would probably just be, I guess, like a build-up for one of the next seasons, or like what would it be, man? Like I don't even know.
Look, I don't see them doing an enclosed full story, or it could be maybe the origin of some character or even of the outbreak itself. I see them like a little snapshot in the whole Walking Dead continuity. Like, I don't think they can explain, let's say, how the walkers came or the story of so and so and how and it gives a happy ending. It's essentially going to be something similar to, maybe, look, they could do a movie on the origin and the backstory of Negan, from when he started off as a salesman to the first instance of when he seized power. So it could be something similar to that. I don't see them doing a movie though. Honestly, I just don't see it working properly.
It does, but the one thing that's really kind of interesting there, whether you're looking at The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead or any kind of spin-off that they will do in the future or anything, it really kind of dwells and really kind of hinges on the fact that this is an ensemble cast. It's a very strong kind of story built around a lot of very strong characters, or at least interesting characters nonetheless. And if you take one character out of that, it's not that it's not interesting, but do you think it would have the same cachet, the same kind of excitement building into it? Or would it have to be something like you were saying, like if it's, I agree, it's not going to be like, oh, this is how we end the virus, or this is how everything all started.
For
and
example,
everything, because
the episode of Morgan, I don't want sorry to interrupt, but the episode of Morgan could have been overblown into a movie itself. So yeah, I agree with the fact that, well, no, I do think that you do need an ensemble cast for it to be truly give that Walking Dead-esque feel. But if you want to do a singular character movie, do it in the style of how they done the episode of Morgan, or something along them lines. Or if you saw Fear the Walking Dead, the episode where they focus on Nick in season 2, so something along them lines. But it's always going to be a snapshot in the continuity, and it's not going to really add or detract from what we know so far. I don't see the point. I think that, like Fear the Walking Dead, what they did was smart. They knew they had less episodes to play with, and it is the spin-off, and to gel that group, they said, oh look, it's a family. Whereas The Walking Dead, the main cast is it's a random bunch of individuals who've come together to try their best to survive. How would they do a movie where they build up the character relations, if they were to do a big group, and have enough time to tell a story and all that?
Well, that's what I'm saying when it comes to actually having these individuals. Like, you would need the cast, but at the same time, you would need the cast from either the Fear the Walking Dead show or just The Walking Dead, or some kind of a crossover or something. So we don't have to sit there and have that, well, we need to build up these characters in a movie. We know who they are, we know how they kind of interact and what they do. But at the same time, this is an ongoing series with no kind of legitimate end point or end game in sight. And so we have to just kind of sit there and think, like, what would it be building for? What would it be? It would be something like, one of those Dragon Ball anime movies where it's like it has no connection in the continuity whatsoever, or what would that be? What would be the level of knowledge or intimacy with the show going into that story? I understand why he talks about, like, it really wouldn't work for these particular characters because with everything ongoing, it would be not only almost impossible to actually film, but it would also be kind of, taking the place of an entire season. I mean, it would feel underwhelming to what we've been getting.
If you were to pick a character from the current cast who we haven't really dwelled into completely, like, we can't pick a Rick or someone like of that stature because that's a bit of a cheat. But is there a character from the main cast or that we've been introduced to who you could see them making a movie around?
Well, yeah, I mean, I did a video about this with MJ that I'll link in the description below for anyone who's interested. But personally, I feel like, with what's been going on in this entire series, or this entire season really thus far, we all saw how this season began and how Daryl's actions actually kind of played into what ended up happening in the premiere, without spoiling anything, without doing any of that, So, like, the one thing I was thinking is hell, if you're gonna spin off another show, which they've talked about in the past, doing more spin-offs if possible. So if you're gonna spin off another show, just allow Daryl to leave, because Norman Reedus has actually said in his own right that he wants Daryl to actually get up and go at some point. He doesn't think this character is so popular that they're gonna let him die. But as long as he can live and still be off the show, then it's kind of a nice off into the sunset area. So my thought was just make him basically the Mad Max of the Walking Dead world, where he's just kind of a character who goes and gets into other people's just basic stories or problems and stuff, and just helps them solve it, and then just goes on his merry way, because that's who his character is anyway. And it would really work in that context. So a movie based off Daryl getting to someone else is kind of like a Walking Dead Fury Road type of thing. I would totally pay to see that. I think a lot of people would. He's a huge fan favorite.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're gonna mix up the two, the spin-off as well as the original series, imagine having a little combination of the reckless Nick and Daryl on an adventure. It writes itself. People are going to definitely check that out, because these are the two, well, in my opinion, they're my favorites from both series. So yeah, I completely agree. That's one way to do it, but at the same time, I have my reservations. I don't see a Walking Dead movie ever working where they're able to tell a cohesive and a really good story, a complete story with an end and a good beginning in the time that you're constrained to in a movie format. So it's a bit iffy in that sense.
I mean, I think that's actually a really true concept. If you can't take the characters that we know and love, then a movie doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, because one of the reasons they really hype that up, one of the reasons we really like this particular show in general, is because it spends a longer amount of time, and we get to spend a lot more time with these characters in a genre that was kind of always populated with, like, maybe just like a book or a movie or anything. There wasn't enough time to get really complacent with them. There wasn't enough time to see exactly how the world is forming and reacting to this particular circumstance. And I feel like, yeah, I kind of agree with you. Doing a movie is kind of, I don't know, disingenuous to the whole concept of that television show, or that idea in a sense.
Yeah, because the main reason why I got into Walking Dead compared to others, because Walking Dead is not my cup of tea. I hate the whole post-apocalyptic theme that they churn out with movies, and Walking Dead was all about, hey, zombies, we need to survive. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. But what really reeled me in, nice pun, isn't it? Reeled me in is the fact that you get immersed and you really start to care for each of these characters, and this was done over a period of time. Oh God, did I hate Carl for the longest amount of time, but now he's decent. Yeah, the amount of time, look, imagine how sadistic I am to want to see Carl's head chopped off and eaten alive. I hated him that much, but I was so invested in his character purely because of the time frame we had to play with, I don't see how they can get my investment from a person who doesn't really like this kind of genre for a character, even if they've been introduced, but to capture my interest, so I pay money to go to the cinemas and watch a movie about them. It's like, in my head, I'm thinking to myself, hey, they could just do an episode like a episode special similar to the Morgan one, instead of doing a movie. Like, I don't see them doing a movie unless they're really desperate and they want to make a bit of money, but nothing warrants a movie storyline, because they can't put a storyline that is so important and enclose it within a movie to make me interested enough to, hey, take my £7.50 in the UK, let me watch, I don't know, let me watch Carol knit a few things and then make a bunch of cookies and then pull out her machine gun, kill everyone, take their stuff and go. Like, I don't know. Like, what more can you say? Like, can they make a movie? I don't think so.
I agree. The one thing is we already made a video about basically how Negan could be a good endgame, but as we know in the comic books, it's not an endgame for the series. You got the Whisperers who come afterwards, and for the most part are pretty awesome in their own right. Like, they're kind of a cool concept, something we'd really like to see them get to the show with. But at the same time, I mean, like, you could probably cover that in a movie, but it's not necessarily like, you know, as opposed to Negan, that concept isn't really a finale, or, you know, a finale type concept. The one thing is, you would have to imagine them like actually living or fighting, you know, the final battle, or trying to actually cure the disease. But these characters, you know, as opposed from the whole Eugene thing that they try to play out, or the story tried to play out, these characters are not that group, you know. Like, as fun as it is watching them, and as much of heroic and everything that we think they are, we want to keep watching them. We know in our heart of hearts that these people are not the type of people who are going to go and save the freaking world from this zombie apocalypse. They're just going to keep surviving. And that's one of the most compelling things about the show, but also one of the most frustrating things. So I agree with you. I'm not necessarily sure a movie is actually going to work in that sense.
What if they do a movie like how they did the Harry Potter movies, where it's over a long period of time with installments? But the problem with that is, you know, they're gonna have to stop. This is going to have to be after the series ends. So if they do 3, 4, 5 movies, whatever, but that's over the span of what, 10 years? 10 years at the very least. If they're gonna do 4 movies, you'd expect minimum 10 years. So it's very implausible in that. I don't see it working in practical, I guess.
I mean, I'm all for it. If that's the case, if you want to take Walking Dead and turn it into the next freaking Star Trek, like, I'm actually for that. I think that would be kind of cool to sit there and, you know, revisit these characters like 10 years down the line, where we haven't necessarily seen them on their very, very popular television show for maybe 10 years. And just see where they are now, and like kind of build stories around these characters and new people that they can introduce in that. But I'll have, you know, the same old people that they've had throughout the entire series still there, or maybe kill them off and be very interesting. Hell, I'm all for that. I mean, if Star Trek can do it, I mean, Star Trek is probably way more of a cultural touchstone. Same thing with Star Wars and everything. But, you know, hell, like, Walking Dead's been really popular. We have no idea whether it's going to stand the test of time. I would like to see that, just like kind of a, hey, you know, like, check in every couple of years for the most part, and see where these people are at, and have them go through one adventure or one kind of situation after another, and play off of the cast that they have, and also have the balls to kill some of them as they go, and introduce maybe a movie or 2 or maybe 3 in order to like have Rick or whoever is left be like the last few people, and it's like everything's gonna be okay. I'm fine with that. That's actually a good idea in my opinion.
And the final thought for that is that the first movie could be, if it is 10 years after the series ends, you could have Carl, who is with a new group of survivors, and you're wondering what the hell's going on. So it kind of relies on prior knowledge to The Walking Dead, but throughout the movie he's trying to reassemble the team or the survivors, and you find out so and so's dead, Maggie's dead, or I don't know, you know, all these people are dead. You find Carol in an old woman's house, you know, she's in her disguise. You could tell the story of, or in that sense, of him trying to rediscover his group, and he finds people are dead, people are alive, and he can tell the story of his adventures retrospectively to a new group of survivors, and that can build a bridge between current or old Walking Dead TV series fans and these new people who are watching this movie in the cinema. They're like, oh, what's this? So yeah, it could work. In that sense only.
Like in that sense maybe, and like you know, it's really up in the air. We don't necessarily know, but one of the cool things is they've been, you know, some television shows actually get movies. Some of them are way more popular than others. Some just bomb. But the cool thing is, like, it's kind of cool to be in an age where they're starting to make, like, or they're having more and more comfortability making movies based off TV shows that we love, and actually getting to see characters that we've loved and who might have been gone for a little while actually come back to the, you know, the silver screen, and, or, you know, go from the small screen to the silver screen, and we get to have one more adventure with them, or one or two or something more adventures with them. I think that's actually a really cool concept. So yeah, anyway, guys, I think that we're just going to cut it off there for the most part. We're going on for a while. But I want anyone who's listened this far, please tell us in the comment section below what y'all think of this. Do you think it's a cool concept? Do you think that they should be making movies? Do you think they shouldn't for whatever reason? Or do you think Dimzy and I are right with this particular, like, this is kind of how, if they were going to make movies, they should make movies like this? And for everyone who doesn't know, Dimzy is also an amazing YouTuber. He does mostly Dragon Ball content and Digimon content whenever he can. Yu-Gi-Oh content as well sometimes. I mean, not a whole lot, but he does it with other people as well. So please, I'm going to link him in the comment section or the description section below, and y'all should definitely go check him out because he does make some good content. If you don't subscribe, at least go check him out because I'm pretty sure you'll want to subscribe as soon as you see him. So Dimzy, thank you so much for actually joining with me today.
No worries. Thank you. What a nice and very kind way to describe me. Thank you very much.
Anyway, guys, yeah, so I hope y'all really enjoyed this conversation, and we're gonna catch y'all on the next Walking Dead or Dragon Ball video. So have a nice night.
Bye.
Bye.